Hello, smart viewers. Welcome to Face to Face with me, William. And as usual, on every episode, I'm going to discuss about interesting and different topics. And for this episode, I'm going to discuss about South Korea. Most importantly, for the difference between Indonesia. Yeah. So, they have different diversity, they are different and yet in the same continent. Yeah. And more specifically, I'm gonna talk about the college life in Korea, between South Korea and Indonesia. But first, I'm gonna give out some of the best places to visit in South Korea. So the first one is Suwon. So the city of Suwon is the capital of Gyeonggi province. And it's just 30 kilometers or 20 miles outside of Seoul. So it is easily accessible from Seoul by car or train, but it often skipped over by travelers. So if you visit, you'll be able to see the World Cup Stadium, affectionately called Big Bird, that hosted the quarterfinals of the 2002 FIFA World Cup. And the second one is Chuncheon. So Chuncheon is the location of a popular Korean soap opera called Winter Sonata. And a lot of visitors in the city come to see some of the most common filming locations. Other travelers come for the food because Chuncheon is known as a foodie's paradise. The third one is Jeju Island. So Jeju is a subtropical destination known as one of the top honeymoon and vacation spots in South Korea. So it's, in addition to beautiful beaches, lava tubes, and lush green scenery, Jeju boasts a long list of tourist attractions and amusement parks. So you can get to know the local culture at the Seonggop Folklore Village. Or you could visit Glass Castle, a theme park that revolves around glass sculptures. And the fourth one is Gyeongju. Gyeongju is an incredible destination that boasts a number of temples and cultural festivals. You can start your trip at the Bulguksa Temple, a true masterpiece of Buddhist religion and art that dates back to the 8th century. Then, hike up from the temple to the Seokguram Grotto for even more Buddhist culture and artifacts. So those are some of the best places to visit in South Korea. For the next segment, I'm going to invite a special guest today who experienced a student exchange experience presented by Venus University in one of the universities in Seoul. So don't go anywhere. Stay tuned on Face to Face. Smart viewers, welcome back to Face with me, William. And as promised on the previous segment, I'm gonna invite my special guest for today's episode. She's gonna be discussing about her experience in South Korea. Yeah. So say hello to Sharon. Hello, Sharon.
Hello.
Welcome to the show. Maybe you can share, your latest activities on a daily basis.
Yes, I'm taking the 3.5-year program here at Venus University. So I'm both doing the thesis and internship. So it's quite hectic.
Oh, yeah, and talk about you recently had your student exchange program in South Korea. Maybe you can share about it a little bit.
Yes, around this time last year, I was in Seoul, South Korea for an exchange, and I would say that it was amazing. But obviously, in a new environment, I had to adjust myself with the language, with the culture that's slightly different, and the people. But that was really amazing, I would say. Later, I realized by the end of the program that it was the best decision I've ever made in my life. And although there were processes and going on through a lot of stuff, but that was incredible, I would say.
Oh, and why South Korea, and why you choose that? Maybe because of the K-pop culture thing, or maybe because you wanted to go?
So apparently I went to South Korea because of the exchange to study abroad, and apparently there were a lot of universities partnering with Venus University, so I think that's a good opportunity. And although I grew up listening to like K-pop songs and watched dramas, but little did I know that I was actually going there, so it was very impromptu, I would say. But yeah, I think because of the partnership with Venus University.
Oh, and what do you think about, like the life, university life in here, and what's the difference between in Venus University?
I think there isn't like major, difference, because it's, although it's different, but there is nothing like significant, I would say. And the life, and as a student there, it's quite tough, because the people in Korea, they tend to study more than they should. So for example, the library opens until like midnight, for example, like 12 a.m. And I cannot do that.
There's still people there.
Yeah, there are a lot, especially during like mid-exam or like final exam. So it's tough, I would say, the life, the student life in there.
And why is it like the different between like the learning method? Is it because like the education system, you would say?
I don't really think that there is a major, like I said, the major difference according to the system. But I do notice that for example, here in Venus University, we learn the theories at the like beginning of the university life, like the first semester, second semester, but they learned it at the end of their university life. Yes, so
it's like
it's
pretty
twisted.
contradictory.
Yeah, so it's twisted. So I was like, wow, it's weird, but at the same time, it's interesting for me to because I thought that the theories should be learned from the beginning.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's another way of seeing.
Another way.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And like, what do you think about the the campus that you go to, and what do you think about?
I went to Hanyang University.
Yeah.
It's in Seoul, but they have like two branches. One is in Ansan, which is like 1 hour from Seoul, but the one that I went to was in Seoul.
And what do you think about the facilities, or like the outlook of the campus?
I would say that the facility is amazing. So first of all, they have women's lounge. So basically, women can go there and, relax. They can rest in between classes. It's quite similar with library, but the only difference is that they have like sofas, so they can take naps. And I'm pretty sure they have the men's lounge by now, but I'm not sure because I already went back by then. And I think that's quite interesting that they provided a space for the students to actually relax and rest for a while in between classes, because sometimes we have like 4 hours gap. And then the second, I would say I don't recall the name, but it's the consultation area or service, where basically students can go there and then ask for guidance for their essays. So that's really interesting.
Yeah. So it's quite different than in Indonesia city.
Yes.
They're more into that facility. And what do you think about the responses of like people, South Korean students, in response of accepting foreign students?
Obviously, it's a challenge for them because their main language is not English, like obviously. So at first, they're quite, they kind of like create this distance between the international students and them as locals because of the language barrier. But then once we get to know them, once we've opened ourselves to them, they are very friendly.
So rarely does the South Korean people speak English.
Yeah, I would say yes. And I think because I live and I live in Seoul, but like the campus area is not like on the touristy side, so I think majority of the people do not really speak in English.
Oh yes. And what are your opinion about like the South Korean students, and what's the difference between Indonesian students especially in Jakarta? What do you think about the, like campus life, or how they, try to interact with one another? Is it any different?
Obviously, yes. I think they're more like individualist, especially on the higher like semester. They tend to just like stay with themselves and with their books in a library. Meanwhile, in here we tend to, like do it as a group.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's the difference.
Oh, they're more focused on themselves.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. And so, so the conversation is getting more interesting. I want to know more about the university life of South Korea. You have to stay tuned on Face to Face. Hello, smart viewers, welcome back to Face to Face. Still with me, William, and here we have our special guest for today's episode, Sharon, who talks about your exchange experience in South Korea. We have a little game to hit things up a little bit, so it's related also to your preferences, also. Maybe we can start. So the first question is, you prefer study or travel?
Travel.
Travel. And the next one is summer or winter?
Winter.
Walk or drive?
Walk.
Watching or reading?
Watch.
Fruit or vegetables?
Fruit.
Sweet or sour?
Sweet.
Photo or video?
Photo.
Writing or speaking?
Speaking.
Drama or movie?
Drama.
Group or individual?
Individual.
Individual. And we can discuss this about it. You prefer to study or travel?
Travel.
Travel. What do you think about that?
I feel like
that's why you choose exchange.
Right. I think study is very important, honestly, but then at the same time, travel kind of like broadens my perspective, and I felt like, oh, there's another world other than in here. So I think traveling, like you can actually learn by travel as well. So that's why I love traveling.
So you get both ways, like you
right,
travel,
yeah,
and then you
two birds with
also
one
learn.
Yeah.
And you prefer fruits? Then vegetables. What do you think about that?
I don't know. I'm not a fan of greens, especially vegetables. And fruits. Yeah, like they're sweet sometimes. So.
Are there plenty of like fruits in South Korea? And is there any interesting fruit?
Apparently, nope. Oh. Because fruits there are so expensive.
Oh yeah. It is different in Indonesia.
Different, very different.
Yeah, and you prefer sweet. I don't know, is there any like plenty of sweet things in South Korea?
Yes, sweet and spicy, I would say, in Korea. Sour is very rare, I think, so far as I remember.
But spicy is another level if it's in Indonesia, We have a different kind of spice actually.
Yeah, that's true.
And you prefer to watch drama than movie?
Because drama, they tend to have like series, there's like this continuance, and I just like to, I just don't want that to end very soon. Right.
And what do you think about like K-drama, like the phenomenon? Is there the same kind of like the feeling of the fans here in South Korea?
I don't think Koreans have time to like watch drama.
Oh, really?
I know, it's very weird, but when I ask them about this drama and that drama, they just don't understand, and they're not, like a fan of watching dramas like we do here. So yeah, I don't.
What
even
about
understand.
their opinion for K-dramas, their own drama?
They honestly they tend to watch another like series from Japanese dramas.
Oh,
Which
really?
is, yeah, I don't
Which
know.
is quite interesting.
I guess that's true.
So maybe the sense of production is to like
Yes.
going abroad or
Right.
something. So, and you preferred individual than group, yeah.
Yes.
But you know, like in Korea, maybe you're kind of like accepting the Korean culture, you know, like more tend of on individual.
No, no. I think I've been a very individualist ever since I was younger, and then when I went to South Korea, I think their individualist is on the higher on the higher level. Yeah, seriously. I thought I was individualist, but then when I met them, they're just more, you know, like individualist than I do. So
Is there any like maybe you know you get the different response between you know like the university in Seoul other than different parts of South Korea? Is there any like difference or is it just the same?
Yes, I think because I lived in a city, it's not like a countryside, you know, because I remember I went to Busan and they're not that individualist, you know, so I think the environment just made it that way. Yeah.
And so back to you know the discussion, maybe you can share your most memorable moments while experience the program.
Right. I would say making new friends, because I remember I met like so many friends and we were just like from different parts of the world. We were in the same country, we were in the same place, we were, you know, we stayed during the same amount of time, like around 4 months. And then we helped each other, you know, like so much, and I felt like I clicked so fast, because it was a very short period of time. So it was very interesting. And then secondly, I would say the most memorable would be me and my roommate, because I've never met her before. Apparently she's from China and I'm from Indonesia. She doesn't speak in English at all. And I don't speak in Chinese
So you're
at all.
talking more on the sign language or something?
Yeah, that one as well. But sometimes we use Google Translate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thanks to Google Translate.
We live in the same room, and it's like, you know, two brains combined into one. So it was a challenge. But then now that I think about it, I think it was the most memorable. You know, living in with a person that you've never met before, and you just have to, you know, to try
to
do
communicate.
it, because I cannot go back and then say no to it.
Yeah. And also, like, would you, as in your opinion, would you rather study in South Korea more? Maybe you wish to study more.
Yes,
in South Korea.
4 months is definitely not enough, because I have to balance my, you know, my studies as well as traveling. Like 4 months to travel the whole country is definitely not enough, and I really want to try another country now that I've experienced the South Korea.
Yeah, so yeah, try to increase the craving for
Yes, of course.
for the study. And what is it? You know, like your best experience in, you know, like in the exchange program?
Best experience in the exchange program?
Yeah, in exchange.
I think this is quite confusing, because I don't think this is like the best experience. It's quite like frustrating, but at the same time, I would consider this as the best experience, and that is the language barrier. Like I said, I didn't know that I was actually going to South Korea. I learned the language, but not, you know, so much. And I tried to talk with the locals because I had to survive, of course. And and then some of them did understand, but majority of them do not. And it's quite difficult, I would say. But it's a challenge as well to, you know, to be in a country, to survive in a country where the language is the main issue, because you need to communicate, of course, with a lot of people there. So I guess that's like the best experience and the most challenging one.
Do you go to other parts of Seoul? Like, do you find, you know, it's a city, you know, like, what is it any difference than Jakarta, you know, in terms of the cityscape or something? Yeah.
I think they're very like tourist friendly, so sometimes they have like this tourist booth, and for example, like as I'm an like international student or like a foreigner, I can just simply go there and then ask for help.
Oh, yeah.
And in here, it's quite difficult because I don't think we have like that tourist booth that we can come in and then ask. So yeah,
So
they're actually very English friendly, but there are like parts where they don't
are not
speak the
English.
yeah, they don't speak.
Yeah. So could you give us some tips, for smart viewers who would like to go abroad to have a exchange student experience?
I think first of all, do not be afraid, and I don't think that's something you need to be afraid of. You don't need to be scared of because you've never been there, you've never went through the processes, so don't be afraid. And I know that it takes a lot of processes, but trust me that in the end, it's every moment was we're definitely worth it. And then second, like do some research because you're gonna live away from home, and it's not like you can just simply go back to your hometown and cancel everything. So I think there's a lot of preparation that you need to do.
Oh yeah. So thank you so much for sharing your experience in South Korea, and thank you for the tips also. I hope that it's quite handy for us, for smart viewers who would like to go, especially to South Korea. And we've come to the end of the show, so be sure to check out another episode of Face to Face at the same day and time. Until then, I'm William, signing off. Bye bye.